Welcome to JDM Legends presented by Turn 14 Distribution. Today we are fixing a few things on this thing and taking it for a real drive. So the plan is to take this for an actual drive, see how it performs, see if we have any other issues. But before we do that, I want to make sure we have the right gauges installed so we can monitor this engine and make sure this thing isn't over boosting. So let's show you what we got.
To keep a close eye on the air-fuel ratio of our 2JZ, we are going to install AEM's X-Series Uego wideband. And this is in fact the fastest responding wideband on the market. And if you want to know why that really matters, you can actually jump onto our website, that's speed.academy, where I wrote a whole story about response time or dead time with widebands. And in independent testing, this was proven to be the fastest responding wideband on the market. And that matters because the shorter that dead time is between when the air-fuel ratio changes at the motor and when your gauge picks that up and reports it to your gauge or to the tuner, the more accurate and safe your tune is going to be. So that's why that matters. For us today, we really just want to be able to monitor it while we're cruising on the street and make sure everything's normal and healthy with the way this engine's running. But for you guys wanting to add boost or do any kind of custom tuning, this obviously starts to play an even bigger role. So we're also going to put in AEM's boost gauge. This is also an X-Series boost gauge, so just like the wideband one, it uses the same 52mm form factor and this very thin housing. It's less than an inch thick because it uses an advanced single board inside, and that really allows you to install it in some very creative ways because it's not like your big, bulky, typical gauge of old. So you can also see that it comes with a digital LED display as well as a band around the outside which lights up with LEDs. There you go, those are our two gauges, and now I think it's time for Pete to jump in and do the actual work here.
First things first, we are going to mount up the map sensor for the boost gauge, and I have chosen the backside port of the intake manifold. You want to try to pull a reference point off of any of those ports. As you can see here, I've teed in, and I'm going to mount this back up onto the backside here. And then I'll show you, I've got a good spot for the actual map sensor itself. So I've got my hose tapped in here, and now I need to mount up the map sensor. What I've done is I've just grabbed a Vibrant P-clip and wrapped it around here, and I'm gonna put this in this perfect spot right back here where there is a bolt hole, and it'll kind of conceal it, and it's gonna make the routing on this vacuum tubing also pretty short. So I think that overall is a good win-win here. Usually the most frustrating part of this job would be to have to run the harness into the cabin, but it's like Toyota knew when they were building this car that people would want to put boost gauges and a whole bunch of other stuff in. So look at this, there's a grommet right here that leads right into the cabin. It's perfect. I'm gonna run the wire into there, and it's going to be so easy. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Toyota, for thinking of us. I'm also going to run the wideband wiring through the same hole here into the cabin. And if you guys recall, in a previous episode, you would have seen that the downpipe, that one-piece downpipe, does already have the provision for a wideband because it already had a wideband on the red car. All I've done is just replace the sensor. I've got the plug right here, so it's actually super easy. And now I'm just gonna be able to plug it in as such, and then we can jump into the cabin and work on the rest of it. Man, this is like the fastest wideband and gauge install that I've had to do in the engine bay in a long time. Like, this is what, DP? Maybe 15 minutes?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Inside here, most people like to mount their gauges in a spot where I'm gonna mount them as well, and that is the vent, the fresh air vent here, and the clock. So you can see it's kind of perfect if we put the air fuel and the boost gauge right around here. I think that this is actually for 52 mil, so that works out really, really well. This one is bigger, which poses a question on how to do this, and I do have a pretty awesome solution for it. However, what we're gonna do is we want to retain this original stuff on the red car, and the red car already has a boost gauge and an air fuel gauge here, so we're just going to swap out some trim pieces here. So let's jump over there. First, I'll show you what we're yanking out, and then we can come back here. Here you can see what I was talking about mounting the gauges. It's pretty much perfect spot. However, the wrapped tape around my gauge a million times is not necessarily a very pretty look. So I'm gonna get all of this unplugged here. I'm gonna get this out of here, and I'm gonna start disassembling the dash. I am now just removing this autometer boost gauge, and I can see the previous owner did have to shave it a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. It had to be shaved to fit into here. So that indicates to me that this isn't a perfect 52 mil. Let's see if the AAM one will just pop in. Oh man, it's so close. You know what, I'm gonna shave the back of this a little bit too, because I just don't want to force this in. I don't know if you can see this, but the belt sander certainly did the trick. I shaved off just enough where we can fit this in here now. You can see it's got a nice press fit. So that is done, which is a simple job. Now for here, this is a large, I think it's even bigger
60
than
mil, I think
I think it's got to be bigger than 60. I know I've seen 60 millimeter gauges. They're not usually this big, but because we are running a 52 millimeter, there's a company out there called Auto Extrude that makes this ingenious piece. And if I'm not mistaken, it is 3D printed, but you can see it's pretty brilliant because first of all, it clips right in here. So let me just drop this in and show you guys. Once it's in here, just like that, look at that. So now I can put the gauge into the middle, and on top of that, I still have some function from the vent. So it's a super cool product. I think it was like around $80, so it's not expensive. And for me, it gives it such a nice clean look. So I'm just gonna get this hard mounted up, and then we can start working on the wiring here. Wiring for these two gauges could not be simpler, despite there being so many wires. Really all we're doing is finding a switched 12 volt and a ground for both. These other ones are for like AAM net, for serial outputs, and you know, that's the beauty of these gauges is you can actually connect them to your standalone ECU and have them provide you with valuable info. Like for example, the wideband, that's a huge asset to have. And just like that, everything is back together. It all went together so easily. And as you can see, both gauges are mounted up. I think they look really, really good. Okay, it looks like we've got ourselves a vehicle that is not misfiring, DP.
It's running and driving properly.
Yes, it is.
It's riding firm but livable on these Fortune 510s.
Yeah, we are very, very low. We got to take it easy. We are on tires that are very old. Yes. They are from Japan. I don't even remember the date on them, but they're pretty bad.
They're past their due date, I would say.
I would say so. Looks like our AFRs are pretty perfect at cruising. They're like high 14s, which is very, very nice.
Stoichiometric.
So, yes.
We're making negative boost, which is not what you're supposed to be doing in a Supra.
That's right. So let's see if I just like get into it a little bit here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's building. Wow, look at that. It's making 10 pounds there.
10 pounds, yeah.
Wow. Man, the automatic transmission feels lazy to me, man.
That's why they call them slush boxes. This is 90s era automatic technology. It's not going to. Look at this.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It is old.
Yep. I think it's just we're not used to this type of car with an automatic. 30-year-old automatic. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, okay. Oh, and it's that was 16 pounds of boost.
Oh wow!
Man.
It's like it found another gear there.
Wow. Okay, so it was making some big power there.
Why did it do that all of a sudden?
Well, welcome to the world of sequential turbos.
Okay, yeah.
And the way everything works.
You think number 2 kicked in there?
Man, who knows? Okay, so I'm gonna floor it here.
Okay.
And see? Whoa!
That was
like
weird.
Just
it fell flat on its face there. Is that because of the traction control or something? It feels like it kind of like
control. Oh, okay, maybe, yeah. Okay, slip control. Okay, so slip control is off now. Okay, so maybe that's the thing that I had traction control on. So let's see if I floor it here. See, but it,
There it goes.
oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, 16, 18 pounds.
Oh yeah.
I think we got some boost creep or something happening there.
Yeah, that's a lot of juice for this thing.
Those
A little-
ceramics don't
yes.
not so much.
Those are certainly not. We don't want to blow those things up.
No.
But see, it's only in higher speeds
Yeah.
where it's making that kind of
Interesting,
power. But yeah, man, that is very, very interesting.
We definitely need to consult some Supra experts because this is a bit puzzling. But the fact that it also went to 18 pounds, it shouldn't really go that high, right? With our setup?
It should.
Oh, it should
can.
go?
It's most certainly can. We have a full 3-inch catback now. We've got a high flow cat.
Yeah.
Like these things are creeping for sure. So
We may need to restrict it somehow?
Yeah. You never know. It could need some restriction at this point. Okay. Wow. You can see, like that was 2 full gears there, and it second worked well. I think it was the slip control was the issue before.
Yep.
But in first gear, it only makes like 10
pounds, yeah.
12 pounds, but it certainly comes on in second gear. You
gear,
can see
it wants to party.
It's starting to move.
And
so.
I saw air fuel ratios like into the high 10s, low 11s there.
Oh, so it's running pretty rich.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a better than lean. So
sure.
that's a good thing.
It was chucking some fuel once it started to get into boost, so it's trying not to kill itself, but man, that boost creep, I think, is a bit of a concern. Before we get technical here, PT, can I just say this car draws a lot of attention, especially with no front bumper on it. But wow, we got stopped by everyone at the gas station. People on the street were freaking out.
Yeah. You know, we just did a bit of talking about in first gear, low drive.
Yes.
It only saw about 10 11 pounds
yeah.
of boost, which makes sense because it doesn't have the time to like over boost. In second gear now, where it just like builds the boost up and then it's got time to really start seeing the
It's
the
weird though,
overboost.
because we made a few pulls in second gear where it didn't overboost. It would only go to 10 pounds. And then all of a sudden, I think maybe after we turned off the traction control,
So, yeah.
that's when the party really
Yes,
started and it
yes.
would go buck wild.
Yes.
So-
yes. And it's really weird because this thing's supposed to have a fuel cut at 1415.
A boost cut.
Yeah. At 1415 psi.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was definitely not doing that because we were
what's
hitting 18.
going on.
We saw on the recall button there that
Yes.
it hit what, 18.2 pounds?
18.2 pounds. That's a nice thing about those gauges is I was able to, the boost gauge to pull a peak number, so we know for sure we did hit 18 pounds of boost. Well, we have once again come to the end of the day, which means we're gonna wrap this episode. But there are a lot of unanswered questions. It feels like every episode ends with a cliffhanger here right now where we're like, what do we do? And then we figure it out in the next one. So hopefully in the next episode, we do figure out a couple things. First of all, why this car has no boost cut. It should be hitting boost cut at 14 PSI and it's not doing that. We're hitting 18 PSI, which is on an unsafe level. We do not want to overspin that front turbo and blow it up. So we will get into also making a restrictor. I'll show you what that looks like so we can try to increase the back pressure a little bit more and bring that boost level down as well. I also got to figure out what's going on with that overdrive off light. That big triangle with the traction control light also needs to be inspected. So if you guys have any information, post in the comments, let me know. Me and Dave are gonna go home, do a lot of reading and try to figure this stuff out. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, certainly think about giving us a thumbs up and think about subscribing and hitting that notification bell because this journey is far from over.